form of life has enemies. Think about that. Every bit of life on this planet has enemies. Now, there are some animals who don't have any natural predators because we have destroyed them. We've gotten rid of them. And man has become their predators. And so that's why some people have to go out and we have to, what's called culling the herd. We have to bring it back into balance, or else the animals will kill themselves basically by overeating. But most animals, most things have enemies. Insects. Insects have birds and other animals that will eat them. Birds have cats and dogs. My cats love to catch birds and squirrels and rabbits. Michigan has Ohio State. All forms of life, and I won't say which one that was. Even human beings, we have enemies. We have germs. If you ever watch a program that talks about the number of germs that sit on our body, that help us, and then all the germs that are trying to destroy us, we all have enemies. And the real life that John talks about, its enemy is sin. I know sin's not talked about much, but we're going to talk about it today. And what we'll find as we're in this part, we'll see a lot of contrast. John does a lot of contrast between light and dark. And when dealing with sin in the Christian walk, he has a contrast between saying and doing. Because see, the Christian life is more than just talk. It's more than just saying what we think we are. It's about doing what we say we are. See, if we have fellowship with God, we're walking in the light, and our lives will reflect that. And it'll reflect what our lips are saying. You know, what do a lot of non-Christians call people who go to church? Hypocrites. See, a hypocrite is somebody who says something but does something completely different. And John is saying we can't do that. We cannot do that. As if we're living the real life, we cannot be a hypocrite. We must do what we say. Because if we're living in sin, if we're walking in darkness, then our lives will contradict what our lips are saying. And we become hypocrites. Now, the New Testament talks a lot about the Christian life being a walk. And you know, one of the first steps in taking this walk as a Christian is, first of all, to believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior. To accept Him as your Savior. That's the first step. But that's not the end. And I think sometimes the church has and we as believers have said, well, let's get people saved. You know, let's just get them saved. But that's just the beginning of the walk. That's like when my wife and I last time we went to Georgia, and we decided we were going to take a walk. And so we drove to the state park, and we got out. I mean, that was the first step, getting out and actually beginning to walk. So we can't stop there. We can't sit there and say, yeah, we went for a walk at the state park just because we got out of the car and got back in. It doesn't work that way. We have to actually walk on the paths to say that we walked in the state park. It's the same thing with Christian walk. I can't just say I'm a believer in Jesus Christ and I'm walking in the light because I believed in Him. We have to go. We have to move. It's progression. It involves progress. In the spiritual walk, in our walk with Jesus, it's supposed to advance our spiritual life. If you're not growing, you're dead. You understand that? If my plants, I have gardens. If you drive by the house, if you come to the house, you'll see I have 8 huge boxes that sit about this tall. And the plants are growing. If they're not growing, they're dead. And what am I going to do with dead plants? I'm going to pull them out. So if you say you're in the light and you're walking in light, if you're not growing, you're not growing. You're dead. And see, just as children need to learn to walk. So they it's great when I've watched our kids begin to walk. You know, they first kind of hold themselves up and they kind of move around like our ottoman. They'll kind of, and then they start making those first steps. Or Abigail, she's actually sat and she scooted. But they start to make those first steps and they're walking on the carpet. And as parents, you're like, okay, be careful. Don't let them fall. And it's like, no, they need to learn. They need to learn to walk. They need to learn to fall. They need to learn to pick themselves up. They need to overcome some of the difficulties. The difficulties are usually from the difference between the tile and the carpet. That's their first big difficulty. And then they walk outside in the stones. And see, we as believers in Jesus Christ, if we say we are walking, we need to walk and learn to walk in the light.